Okay, here is another portrait we're going to do, taking some ideas from the Van Gogh one, but this time we're going to make it look a wee bit more like a Picasso portrait. We're going to make it Cubist style by having this kind of, crazy looking face. So what you need to do is take some selfies from some different angles. And then you need to open up Explain Everything. And I think everybody's used this before, so you start a new picture and explain everything. You hit the little plus sign with the papers at the top and go into your photos. You take out one of your selfies, and then you choose the little dotted line tool there from the one I've selected in blue, and then you just draw over a part of your face. I think this video, oh no, it's showing, is that cool? So just take a section of your face, so I'm going to choose like that sort of eye and nose bit there, and then done, and then we'll just do that to another couple of pictures. So again, grab another bit of face. So I've done the left hand side in that one, so I'm going to do the right hand side in this one. Oh, and I quite like that. That's already quite a good crazy looking face, but I decided to put in an extra section here. So I've put in another mouth. Okay, there we go. Now what I do just now is just play around with this for a wee while, because one thing I don't like is this big white space in the middle there between the two noses. So what I've decided to do is just go and grab another bit of face to stick in that gap. So I've taken the nose from this picture, and then I've placed it in there, and then I have held my finger down on that image, and then this other menu comes up there, and I go to the arrange menu and go to send to back, and that puts that nose way at the back. So there we go. So it just means I've basically filled in that gap with some kind of like fleshy colours. And then and you can see how long I spend playing around with this, and that's what I expect you to do as well. You know, these things we don't just do them straight away. You've got to try out a few things, keep looking at it, seeing if it works okay. And I think I must have been happy with that. Oh, still not happy. Now, when you are happy with an arrangement, you're going to take a screenshot of that image. There, I've just taken a screenshot, and then you crop it. And then you do up at the top, you ask it to save to photos. And once you've done that, you can open up Sketchbook again. And I'm going to a new image here. So a new sketch, and obviously I'm going to save my old sketch, although I think I must have screenshotted it, but I'll save it. And at the top in the sketch, in that little slidey bar, you're going to slide it along till the picture icon, and you're going to take that last screenshot. And from here on, we're going to work almost exactly the same way as we did last time. So a new layer. That's very important to get the new layer. Now today, for the dark tones, we're going to use cool colours, so blues and greens for the dark tones, and we're going to use warm colours for the light tones, so, reds, oranges and yellows for the light tones. I'm just using my finger on this today, so that's why I'm zooming right in to work on it. And I'm just starting to go over the very darkest lines and fill in some of the shadows. And I'm really thinking about keeping the dark bits separate from the light bits in this picture. That's going to be a very important thing for me. Now, I'm using a combination of blue and green here, and I'm changing about between them. That's also pretty important. So it's not just one colour I've got in there. It's nicer to have a range of colours. And these colours are harmonious anyway. They're both cool colours. So they work quite nicely together. So remember, we're not basing our colours on what colour the actual face is. We're basing our colour choice on how light or dark the face is. So now that I'm gonna put in some of the light bits here. So I'm using a brighter and a warmer colour, right? So the orange is doing the light thing there. Now, remember, this takes a lot of patience because it takes a while to build up all these marks. So you've got to keep working over it, keep working over it. You've got to see what it looks like without the photograph underneath it as well. That's really important. You can kind of see from the bar at the right hand side, but it also really helps if you remove the photo, because sometimes it looks a lot more complete. When you take the photo, you realise you've got quite a lot to fill in, just like there. Okay, so I've got the basics going on, but I realise I've got lots to fill in. One thing that I sometimes do when I work in these pictures is I work without the photograph underneath. Now, what happened there was I thought I was recording and I wasn't. And so I've done quite a lot of it here, but I'm going to show you some tricks now that'll help you guys get it complete. So you can tell that bit I've started working on is now, almost finished. So the rest of the face you can see is still got lots of white gaps showing. So what I'm doing is I'm duplicating my layer, right? So there we go. So there's my new picture. I'm going to add a few more marks. I'm going to show you a wee trick that fills things in a lot more quickly for you. Oh, remember, if you want to use a colour you've already used, once you press on the colour for the colour menu, there's a wee pipette dropper icon. What you can do is click that and a little target will appear on your picture. Move that target over the colour that you want to use again, and that means you can copy a colour that you've already used. That's quite handy if you're going back over a bit you've already worked on and you want to do a wee bit more to it. And while I'm doing this, we can have a wee look. If you look at the eye that I've completed, you'll notice I decided the eye was actually quite dark. So instead of putting warm colours in there, I've put quite a lot of green. There's a wee bit of orange in it, but I've put quite a lot of like dull greens in there. And I think that kind of works to show that colour of the eye. Okay, so I'm just adding a few more lines of green here. Now what I'm doing is I'm pressing on the layer. So just press on the layer and you get an option to duplicate the layer. Now I'm going to work on the middle layer there, not the top one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the top layer go invisible. And I'm going to use this brush that I've got here. You can see the one that's selected, and that's for smudging. So now I'm just going over the picture and smudging it. Right, now I'm not smudging. I've duplicated the picture, so I've got a saved version of my picture on the top layer, but I've made that invisible, and I'm smudging a copy of it underneath. And what this does is, after I've done a bit more smudging, what I'll do is I'll let you see the top layer again, and you'll notice that it looks a lot better because a lot more of the gaps are filled in. So really I'm using smudging here to just fill in some of the gaps in my picture. And now I'm revealing the top picture. You can see that looks better. It looks a lot more complete. It doesn't have any white gaps in it anymore. So now what I can do is I can select the top layer. I'm hopefully remembering to do this. Oh no, I'm doing a little bit more work on it first. Now, one thing that I'm doing here, that as I'm making a big mistake, it looks, oh no, there we are. I've selected the top layer. what I'm doing is I'm just taking the colour from the eye. So there's the wee target, and I'm taking that green I was talking about, a kind of dull green, and I'm putting it into this eye because I thought it worked quite well. So I'm revealing the photo so I can see what I'm doing inside the eye now. And very importantly, I'm working on the top layer. Now that I'm adding new things to it, I'm working on the top layer. That copied middle layer was just so that I could smudge things to take up to fill in all the wee white gaps. And there we go. And I think that green colour works quite well. So that's why you've got to really experiment with your colours and try things out. They might work and they might not work. Now I'm removing the photo to see what's in those wee white bits, and it turns out they're very dark, those white bits. So I've got a nice dark blue there to fill in the shadow. And so I think one of the most important things about these is to really fill in all the try as many colours as you can. I'm saying to you to be experimental with the colours, but don't go bananas. This is why today we're taking a warm, cool approach. Okay, because I don't want it to be too much of a rainbow face. I want it to make some kind of sense. And that's why I'm zooming right the way in as well, so that I can fill in all those tiny wee gaps. And the reason that the hot-cold thing works is because, look, all the light areas are all warm colours that are in harmony with each other, so they look nice together, And if you look how little I do at a time, that's why you've got to be so patient with these. Okay, you've got to be very patient. Now that's it with the photograph behind it. I'm just trying to get the top of the head done a wee bit more. And I've got a dark half of the top of the head and a light half of the top of the head. So that means I've got to somehow get the cool colours on one side, the warm colours on the other side, and have a wee bit in the middle where they come together. One thing I do quite like about the look you get from here is because we're using these nice wee thin lines, when you put hot colours over cool colours or cool colours over hot colours, it looks really good. Okay, so now this is where it's got a bit complicated for me. Because I've got to figure out a colour for the hair, but I can't make it the same colour as all that shadow or else it'll just blend in. So that's why I've decided to go for green for the hair. Because if I made it that blue, the same blue that's at the side of the face, you wouldn't be able to tell where the hair stopped and that blue started. So you've got to be a little bit kind of, strategic about your use of colour as well here. So now I'm trying some orange in the background because, like I say, I need to keep it separate. I can't use too much blue or green or something because you won't be able to see the hair. So I tried some orange, but then I ended up, I don't think I've done it in this video, but I ended up in the end using light blue in the background. But I don't think I've put that in the video for you. Okay, and here you can see that I'm back on smudging on that middle layer. And then what you'll notice is that once I've finished doing a bit smudging, I select the top layer. You can tell which layer is selected. It's got a wee blue box around it. So I select the top layer. And then just when you press that layer, you get this option and you'll see there's one that says merge with a wee down, and that merges the top layer down to the bottom layer. So I hope that helps people. Good luck with this.